DTRA's weekend in Wales continues with round 5 of the 2019 Indian Motorcycle UK Flat Track Nationals here in the Amman Valley. Last time out, Toby Hales became the third different winner of the campaign in a rain-affected meeting that was decided on points. Today, the sun is shining and we'll be hoping to go the distance with 7 pro races. Yesterday's action then saw Gerard Bailo extend his lead over fellow countryman Ferran Sastre to 13 points. Gary Birtwistle and Toby Hales both making gains to give us a 4-way title fight in the second half of this season. Riders now out onto track for heat number 1, just being given a warm-up lap with this near half-mile race strip, freshly watered. They want to understand what track conditions are going to do because we're massively different to where we were this time yesterday, of course, when we were practically submerged underwater. Thankfully, the sun enabling the track surface to dry out as the day went on. Yesterday, there's a decent wind as well, and today we're in prime conditions for some flat track racing here in South Wales. The top 9 in the championship all lining up today. 2 of our international riders starting in this one as well. The opener, heat number 1. The riders making their way out onto track now for that warm-up lap. Michael Dykstra leading them away. He'll be on the pole. Alongside him will be Frank Serra, once again taking up the number 15 on his machine. Riding, you can see, with the number 18 on his back. That's his race number for competition in his homeland of Spain. But Serra coming in to the DTRA as a wildcard rider for the 3rd time this season. And therefore, once again, he takes up the wildcard number 15. So that's a new innovation for 2019. The wildcard has a race number, and Johnny Lewis used that number 15 bike for round 2 at Peterborough. It's Frank Serra who will take it up for the 3rd time in 2019 this weekend. The 2nd time, of course, was yesterday when he finished in 6th. He finished in 4th place at the opener at Kings Lynn, and he'll be looking for a first podium finish of 2019 here today. Also looking for a first podium of the season will be Michael Dykstra, who managed it last season, runner-up around this circuit, but he was only 4th here yesterday. Just a bit of bad fortune, frankly, for the Dutchman, and he could be higher up in the points standings as well if it wasn't for the fact that he missed round number 3. That will go in his favour once the dropped round is taken into consideration right at the end of this season. Michael Dykstra then goes off the inside start position for this one, heat number 1. Alongside him, Frank Serra. Neil McQueen completes that front row. The middle row will feature Sam Hurst, and off the back row, Sky Adams, Angus Goff and Jordan Miller. We're waiting for Goff up at the start line as he just escaped from pit lane. He's now making his way off the top turn on his warm-up lap to complete the field, and we will be ready to go. We watched Sam Hurst there off the middle row, and it's been a pretty disappointing season for Sam Hurst. Did a great job up in the top 10, finished 9th in the championship last year. He's all the way down in 15th coming into this round. Picked up his first points yesterday since the opener at Kings Lynn, so 2 non-scoring rounds in succession for Sam Hurst. That duck broken last time out, and he'll be looking for a place in the grand final here today as we watch Angus Goff on the number 41 finally making his way into position. The flat track convert did a solid job here yesterday. He's learning the ropes all the time, of course, in his first season with the DTRA, and he will be hoping to make further progress with a day's racing around this circuit under his belt. Riders settling in for heat number 1, then Jordan Miller moving off the outside of the back row, but the race gets underway. Miller hasn't gained from it to too great an extent, it must be said, and Angus Goff now chops up the inside of it. Both of these riders moving forward. It's Miller making 2 passes, Angus Goff doing the same. Miller now looking to the outside line of Goff. Separate race up front. Frank Serra's made the break. Michael Dykstra cutting down to the inside line. Couldn't make it work there. Almost diamonding off that bottom bend. He gets his wheels in line. Coming off turn number 4, Serra slips and slides on the freshly watered track surface, and Dykstra comes through to lead. Serra now chopping back to the inside line. Had a look over his shoulder, making sure that he can consolidate that 2nd place ahead of the fight between Goff and Miller. Looks as though Goff it is who's done the better job of the 3 riders off the back row, already up into 3rd position. And in this heat format, where the 3 races are combined to determine our qualifiers to the grand final, our top 12, it is crucial to be picking up double-figure scores. That's what Angus Goff is going to do here in 3rd position. He's even going to have a nibble at second place. Frank Serra holds it for now, but Goff is putting in a really good ride in his opening outing here this afternoon, and Serra finding himself under a great deal of pressure. Goff goes for the inside into the bottom bend. Serra holds it for now. Jordan Miller keeping up a watching brief from fourth position. He's ahead of Sam Hurst, Neil McQueen and Sky Adams, who are well spread out towards the back of the field, but the race is on for second position. Angus Goff hasn't given up just yet. Frank Serra riding a really good defensive line, keeping up his speed around the bends in particular, but Goff seems to be going harder into the turns, seems to be going faster into the turns as well, and if he can just line himself up to capitalise, he may well be able to find a way through here on Frank Serra. Locking up ever so slightly, Serra. Locking up again, coming off the bottom bend, and alongside now it's Angus Goff, side by side into the top turn. Serra tries to muscle Goff out of the way, and he's not afraid to get physical, the number 41. He's going to go all the way around the outside into second place. A brilliant ride from Angus Goff, and certainly the best effort we've seen from him with the DTRA. The number 41 through for second place. Dykstra wins it. The action's all behind the Dutchman, and it's Goff who finds his way through from the back row of the grid and up into second place. An excellent pass in particular there on Frank Serra. It did look as though Goff had the speed, but once he'd closed down Serra, he couldn't find any way past initially. Only in the closing stages, when Serra locked it up twice coming off the bottom bend, was Goff able to get his wheels in line around the outside line and storm through bravely. Brilliant ride from Angus Goff. Good defensive effort from Frank Serra. He's rewarded with third place. Michael Dykstra takes it by over 2 seconds. Jordan Miller well adrift in the end in fourth place. Best of the rest in that one. Sam Hurst, Neil McQueen and Sky Adams spread out, as I said, during that race. Heat number 1. Entertaining start to proceedings then. Interesting to see how Frank Serra lost 2 positions on that bottom bend just by running a little bit offline where the track freshly watered, of course, catching him out. And it must be said that the Spaniards really struggled in wet conditions generally here yesterday. Gerard Bailo, the best of them, a damage limitation ride for him to keep his advantage in the championship, but his worst result of 2019 so far. So this weekend, really an opportunity for the British riders who know this circuit perhaps a little bit better to capitalise and try and make back some of the lost ground, because early on this season, Bailo and Sastre, winner and second place at rounds 2 and 3, second and third at round number 1. They've had the consistency to lead the way. Gary Birtwistle making the best impression of the Brits. He is the lead Brit by 9 points, in fact, having won the opening round at Kings Lynn and taken second place here yesterday. Watching Gerard Bailo come into line. He is our current championship leader, yet to drop off the podium, so keeping up that consistency, that's the key word for him. He goes off the middle row here. Yesterday's top 3 all lining up in heat number 2. In fact, the top 5 in the championship all lining up here, so no doubt about it, this is the stronger of round 1's races. Toby Hales and Gary Birtwistle, the top 2 Brits, line up off the front row. The top 2 Spaniards line up off the middle row. Gerard Bailo and Ferran Sastre. Joe Banks just coming into line now completes that middle row. Back row, Sean Kelly, Rob Meir and Leah Toklove. The fast starter Rob Meir, see if he can try and get into the mix, but we've got 4 clear favourites and they're starting off the front 2 rows of the grid, so the challenge for him will be to try and hang on to their coattails and make progress from the back row of the grid. Here we go then, 8 riders for heat number 2. We'll have seen all 15 of our competitors here in South Wales. Underway with the second race of the day. It's a good start from Gary Birtwistle. Hales snakes ever so slightly in the run down to turn number 1. Then he gets boxed into the inside line. Watch for the other green machine around the outside line. It's Gerard Bailo trying to make progress. He's come through from the middle row of the grid and he's already up into second place. Rob Meir also making progress. Good job from him early on. He's up into 4th position. Around the outside he goes on Ferran Sastre. Huge tank slapper for Toby Hales, and Ferran Sastre suffering similarly coming off the bottom bend, enabling Rob Meir to go clear into 4th position. Meanwhile, Gerard Bailo trying to prize a line up the inside of Gary Birtwistle, who defends as they come down the back straight once again. Bailo hasn't given up just yet. He takes a tear off as they come into turns 3 and 4, but he's certainly dropping Toby Hales, 3rd position, and slipping away. It's Rob Meir at this stage of the race who is making progress. Meir, who is best of the rest in the championship, up in P5 as things stand, but 15 points back from Toby Hales at the moment in the series standings. Well, Meir looking to make an impression here this afternoon, and he's certainly attempting to make an impression on Toby Hales, although over that last lap, Mir dropping back, Hales starting to consolidate third position, and Mir will now come under pressure from Ferran Sastre in the latter stages of this race. Birtwistle seems to have it well and truly under control. Rather filled in looking Gerard Bailo in second position. Here's the race between Mir and Sastre. This is for P4. Sastre will try and go all the way around the outside. Looks as though he's got the move done. Mir will try and get his wheels in line earlier. He can't do so. It's a good recovery from Ferran Sastre, but I don't think he's going to get to any of the top three. Hales is closing down Bailo. We could have a race on our hands for P2 in the latter stages of this one, heat number 2. Can Hales find a way through? Once again, he's out of shape off the bottom bend. That gives Bailo a bit of breathing room, and it should be Birtwistle from Bailo and Hales. Hales hasn't quite given up just yet. He gets a decent run around the top bend. Bobbling coming off turn 2 is Gerard Bailo, but Hales isn't quite close enough. Birtwistle wins it. Bailo over the line for second. Third going the way of Toby Hales. Then it's Sastre and Mir in quick order. And Leah Toklov is next up with 7 points scored there. Sean Kelly and Joe Banks, the last riders over the line. Close to one another, but not to the rest of the group. Certainly not to Gary Birtwistle, who was a fine winner there of the second race of the day. A runner-up position here yesterday. He's staking his claim for a first DTRA title as he wins heat number 2 by almost a second over Gerard Bailo. Toby Hales not far behind at the flag. Ferran Sastre takes 4th position, and Rob Mir was up there and challenging in the early stages. Can't quite keep the pace on such a large track as we saw here yesterday. Mir hoping to improve as the day goes on. Look at the standings ahead of the second round of races here in the Amman Valley. On the evidence of yesterday's meeting, I would suggest that there are 9 riders who should be pretty comfortably through to the grand final here today. But we've got a real fight on for the other qualification positions. Remember, only 12 riders will make it through. And at the moment, the bottom 5 are covered by 2 points. Neil McQueen and Leah Toklov on 7 apiece, Sky Adams and Sean Kelly on 6 apiece, and Joe Banks on 5. And those 5 riders are making their way out onto track to line up for heat number 3. So this is undoubtedly the weaker of the 2 round 2 races, but it is crucial in terms of determining the top 12 who make it through to the final and have the opportunity to pick up the bigger bulk of championship points here at the 5th round of this 2019 campaign. As for the battle at the front of the field, well, this one will provide us with a new, albeit potentially only temporary meeting leader. The 2 round 1 winners, Michael Dykstra and Gary Birtwistle, line up next time out in heat number 4. So a few of these riders may well move above them in the point standings, but Dykstra and Birtwistle, of course, will have a ride in hand. A look at the lineup in full for this one, heat number 3. It's Angus Goff who goes off the inside of the front row. He'll start as favourite after a brilliant ride first time out in heat 1, where he made his way through to second place. Alongside him, Joe Banks and Sean Kelly. From the middle row here, Leah Toklov, Neil McQueen and Sky Adams. The last riders to settle in off the back row, Ferran Sastre and Frank Serra. Neither of the Spaniards had a great start to this meeting. Serra restricted to 3rd position from the front row, first time out in heat 1, and Ferran Sastre coming in behind Birtwistle, Bailo and Hales in heat number 2. So they will be attempting to make their way through with great alacrity from the back row of the grid here for heat number 3. Long hold for the riders, but we now get underway. Fastest reaction for Joe Banks off gate number 2, but it's Angus Goff who wins the drag race down to the first turn and takes the whole shot. Ferran Sastre with a smart inside line around the first 2 turns is already up to 3rd position and closing down Joe Banks as Frank Serra moves around the outside of Sean Kelly to challenge the 4th position. Kelly goes in hard into the bottom bend. Serra stuck up on the outside line. Toklov will pass the pair, may have an opportunity to pass Joe Banks coming off the bottom bend as well, and does so. Banks loses 2 positions. It's Serra versus Toklov now for 3rd place. Sastre is off and running and chasing down Angus Goff. The battle is for 3rd position. Toklov loses out to Serra, and further back, Sean Kelly locking up off the top bed, and Joe Banks holding on to position. So it's Goff who leads us from Sastre in 2nd. 3rd position, as you can see, is with Serra, stretching an advantage now over Leah Toklov in 4th place. 5th is still with Joe Banks, pursued closely though by Sean Kelly, and that could be an important race in terms of qualification for the grand final once the points are totaled at the end of heat number 6. We head towards the half phase of this meeting, and it's Angus Goff who leads us in heat number 3, the 3rd of 6 heat races, with Ferran Sastre giving chase, giving pursuit, getting to the inside line and nosing in front. Goff goes the long way round. Can he keep up his speed? Yes, he can. Angus Goff holding on in the face of the Spanish Armada, with Ferran Sastre in second position and Frank Serra in third, both attempting to close him down. But Goff, who had the pole, he had the best starting position, and he is the only rider in the top three of this race who started anything other than the back row of the grid, because remember, Sastre and Serra were alongside one another off row 3. It's Goff on the outside, it's Sastre preferring the inside, but Goff is doing a great job. He's put into practice all of the learnings from yesterday's event, and having finished second place in his opening ride, he leads his second. Goff gets out of shape though, coming off the final turn. Sastre with his wheels in line, and Ferran Sastre steals victory away from Angus Goff in the cruelest of fashions in the run down to the line. Goff, I thought, had that one sewn, and that was going to be the biggest win of his career in flat track racing, no doubt about that. But it's Sastre who comes through to deny him, and Goff is devastated after the checkered flag, despite the fact that second position moves him on to a brilliant 24 points, which matches Ferran Sastre after his second ride as well. Frank Serra gets third position, 2 double-figure scores in a row, but he's not quite on the leader's pace on the evidence of this meeting so far. Sastre wins it, 61 thousandths of a second his advantage, and that gains him 3 extra points in the context of this meeting. Frank Serra takes third. Important results for Leah Toklove and Joe Banks in 4th and 5th positions respectively. Now we come out for Heat 4, and the target total is 24 points, and we've got the round 1 winners, Michael Dijkstra and Gary Birtwistle, each lining up here from the middle row. We've got a very strong lineup because we've also got Toby Hales and Gerard Bilo, our reigning champion and our current championship leader. A look across the line then, it's Jordan Miller and Gerard Bilo from the front row. Bilo will start as favourite here. Gary Birtwistle, Michael Dijkstra and Rob Meir, who could well challenge into the first turn going off the outside of the middle row. The back row, Toby Hales and Sam Hurst. So this is going to be a really important race for Toby Hales, because he was only third in his opening ride, and now he's got the challenge of a back row start, and Hales had a front row start for his opening ride, remember. So Hales has got work to do here in a strong lineup. Heat number 4, the starting marshal moves away, and we are underway. Good start for Meir, but Whistle's made a decent one as well. Jordan Miller's going to get his elbows out on Gerard Bilo into the first turn, but Bilo cruises around him. Rob Meir is already up into third position and challenging for P2. Miller blocks him out. Toby Hales moves through to 4th position. The round 4 winner is off in pursuit, comes down the inside of Rob Meir. Dijkstra side by side with Birtwistle. The round 1 winner's starting to make progress now as well. Meir is holding back Hales. Birtwistle with an opportunity to try and pass him. Meir gets past Miller, who's slipping backwards. It's now teammates side by side as Birtwistle comes round Miller. Chaos in the midfield here. Our race leader is breaking. Gerard Bilo is long gone, but the race is for second position. Meir has fought his way through into it superbly in the opening laps, but here comes Birtwistle to pass him. Birtwistle sends him wide. Hales comes through. Dijkstra's trying to go the long way round. Meir cuts back to the inside. He's going to hold back his own speed though, coming off the bottom bend. Dijkstra goes for the cutback, and through comes Michael Dijkstra to become the latest rider to overhaul Rob Meir, who is the master of opening laps, but is struggling to keep pace with the front runners. Dijkstra now closing down Hales. He didn't have a good run off the top bend, and Dijkstra comes through down the inside line into turn number 3, and Dijkstra once again showing the speed that saw him only narrowly miss out on a podium place here yesterday. Hales with the cutback. Dijkstra again preferring the outside line. It's worked well here for him so far this weekend, the cushioned line, and it's seen him past Toby Hales, but can he get to Gary Birtwistle? Hales once again pulling alongside Dijkstra. These two going absolutely toe-to-toe, and remember, they've got Gary Birtwistle directly ahead of them, who sits in second place as things stand. Dijkstra going very, very wide around turns 3 and 4. He seemingly slips out of the race for second, but Hales is certainly not out of contention. Gary Birtwistle moves to block. He's gone the wrong way. Hales cuts back to the inside. They're side by side coming off the final 2 turns. Drag race down to the line. Dijkstra's in the mix as well. Closing down Gary Birtwistle. Hales holds on for it ahead of Birtwistle, and what a race that was, all for second position. Gerard Bilo was away and gone from the front row in that one. Heat number 4 went around the outside line of the first 2 turns and was never seen again, but Toby Hales working his way through superbly from the back row of the grid. He picked off Dijkstra. Dijkstra was a little bit too ambitious on the outside line and couldn't make it work for him in the end, so after winning his first ride, he's only 4th in that one, but an outstanding race between them nonetheless. Hales, Birtwistle and Dijkstra all covered by just over 1/10 of a second at the checkered flag for second down to 4th. Rob Meer, best of the rest, slipping away as the laps went on, but he and Jordan Miller dropping back through the field caused absolute carnage as the rest of the riders tried to work their way through. Frantic action in heat number 4, the second round, finishing in style. Seven riders separated by just 7 points ahead of the final 2 heats. The chase for the top 4 positions and a place on the front row of the grid for today's grand final really begins to hot up. Not least because the top 3 on that graphic there all have a back row grid slot for the 3rd round of heats. So plenty of action still to come, plenty of action further down the order as well, just for the qualification positions, with 3 riders tied for 12th position. This one will be an important race for Joe Banks, the other 2 riders on 13 points lining up next time out in heat number 6. Line up in full for heat 5. Leah Toklov, Sam Hurst and Rob Meer going from the front row. Frank Serra and Angus Goff meeting for the 3rd time here today, lining up off the middle row. Joe Banks and Gary Birtwistle completing the lineup. Birtwistle already twice a podium finisher in 2019, and he's aiming to keep up his position inside the top 4, having finished just 3rd place last time out. I'd suggest he's got the easier of the round 3 heat races, with 3 of the top 4 in the championship lining up next time out in heat number 6, but can Birtwistle capitalise on it from the back row of the grid here? Joe Banks just settling into position, then our riders will be ready to go for the penultimate heat race of the day here in the Amman Valley. Heat number 5 gets underway. Rob Meer with the fastest start. Our whole shot king is there once again. Sam Hurst, 2nd place early on the inside line. Angus Goff goes round him. Gary Birtwistle goes round him. Now they're going either side of him. It's Leah Toklov coming through on the inside and Frank Serra coming around on the outside. Serra, who's had a tricky day so far here today. He's stranded further down the field than he might have liked, particularly given the alacrity with which Gary Birtwistle has come through from the back row. He's up into 2nd, pursued here by Angus Goff. But it's Rob Meer who is our early race leader now. Can Rob Meer hold on? Because he's been making fast starts throughout the weekend. We know he's a fast starter, but rarely has he been able to hold on to the top positions. He's looking good in this one though, got some really good drive coming off the top bend. He's run wide though on the bottom bend. Gary Birtwistle cuts straight through across the front of Meer, who then gets perturbed, gets out of shape, and Angus Goff has come through for 2nd position. Separate race further back for 4th position as Goff ducks down the inside of Gary Birtwistle, noses briefly ahead. Birtwistle rides the storm on the outside line and Goff gets out of shape, and I'd suggest at the half race distance things are pretty much settled down now in the top 2 positions. Birtwistle leading Goff. Focus turns to the race for 3rd position with Rob Meer running wide around the outside line on the bottom bend, and Leah Toklov nosing in front for 3rd place. Meer with the outside run manages to come back through. He's going to go deep again into turns 1 and 2. Toklov has the shorter route around the inside line. Meer has the momentum from the outside run. The pair practically side by side once again, but Leah Toklov has got the move done, and that's a great overtaking manoeuvre for 3rd position. Frank Serra bundling past Meer as well, comes through for 4th place, and now will mount a challenge on Toklov for 3rd position. Toklov will have to defend in the closing stages. I don't think she's going to get to Goff for P2, or indeed our race leader Gary Birtwistle, who's really stretched things out now at the front of the field. But Serra is the menace and comes around the outside. Toklov's going to try and get her wheels in line. It's going to be close in the latter stages, but it's Serra who just holds on. A last lap overtake from Frank Serra to come through for 3rd position. Toklov putting in a good ride nonetheless. That's going to be enough to see her through to today's grand final. She was already 3 points above the drop zone, and with a good 9-point score in that one, heat number 5, she'll be through, and with a decent points haul to match. In fact, she moves above Rob Meer in the points by scoring above Meer in that one. Meer scoring 8 points, Toklov scoring 9, 25 for Toklov, 24 for Rob Meer. As for the battle at the front of the field, great ride once again from Angus Goff, and he finishes on a creditable 36, but it is Gary Birtwistle who now leads our meeting on 40 with just 1 heat race remaining. So Gerard Bailo is now the only man who can deny Gary Birtwistle a place as top seed through to today's grand final. Bailo comes into this one, heat number 6, on 27 points compared to Birtwistle's 40. Michael Dykstra and Ferran Sastre on 24 points apiece also line up here, and and Toby Hales lining up off the outside of the middle row will come to rue his first ride underperformance as he trails the other three favourites on 22 points. Sky Adams and Ferran Sastre line up off the front row of the grid. Jordan Miller, Sean Kelly and Toby Hales off the middle row. The back row with Gerard Bailo, Neil McQueen and Michael Dijkstra. We've got a side story here because remember there were three riders tied for the last qualification position after heat number 4. Two of them line up on this one. Their target score is 7 points to move above Joe Banks, who sits on 19 points after his 6-point score last time out in heat number 5. We're underway with the 6th race of the day. Fast up from Michael Dijkstra from the outside of the back row. He storms around the outside line on the first 2 turns. He's already moved through to 3rd place. Picks off Jordan Miller, who sits 4th. Bailo in turn is coming for him. Dijkstra now sweeps around the outside of Toby Hales. Where has Michael Dijkstra found this from? Brilliant ride from the Dutchman to move through now into 2nd place. He's even challenging Ferran Sastre. Sastre went for the cutback, probably made his turn a bit too early, and Dijkstra so smooth on the outside has come through to lead. Dijkstra then ahead of Sastre, and then it's Toby Hales and Gerard Bailo challenging him for 3rd position. The top 4 have broken away from a separate fight further back over P5. Dijkstra leading, Sastre 2nd, Hales 3rd, Bailo making good progress now, but look at the progress of Michael Dijkstra. He's gone a bit deep there, he's overcooked it coming off turn number 4. Sastre nips back through, but Dijkstra has had superb speed so far in this race to come through from the outside of the back row to lead. Now he trails in 2nd position, and what he's got to be careful of is to not go behind Toby Hales and Gerard Bailo, who are attempting to come through. Can Dijkstra fight back then against Ferran Sastre? He's got a lot of overspeed coming into turn number 3. There he is, right up by the tyres that demarcate the outside line around this Amman Valley half mile, and Toby Hales has picked off Dijkstra. Dijkstra perhaps a little bit too ambitious in this race. Once he had the race lead consolidated, perhaps he should have gone back to the inside line. He's brave around the outside. He's going to pull alongside Hales down the back straight. Hales, though, has the inside line into turns 3 and 4. Dijkstra has to settle back for 3rd position, and that's not where you would have expected to see him, considering that he came through from the back to the front in just 1 lap. Sastre leading Hales. Will Dijkstra switch his attack? No, again he goes in deeper on the top bend. He's trying to get the run on Toby Hales. Hales is making good progress in the latter stages of this race. I don't think he's going to get to Ferran Sastre in time though. Ferran Sastre over the line to take the checkered flag. Hales gets 2nd, Dijkstra in 3rd. The focus of that race was the Dutchman's brilliant efforts on the opening lap to come through and lead. He will have some head scratching to do though ahead of the grand final because he slipped back alarmingly as the race then went on. Gerard Bailo taking 4th position. That's his lowest score of the day, and he is not going to be among the top seeds to today's grand final, that's for sure. Jordan Miller, best of the rest, eventually getting P5, and Sky Adams scores above Sean Kelly and Neil McQueen, and that is critical because it means that Joe Banks will qualify through on countback against Sean Kelly, the last of the qualifiers to today's grand final. It means that Kelly, as well as Adams and McQueen, are the 3 riders who miss out here today. 4 different winners in 6 races then, and the only riders to repeat, Gary Birtwistle and Ferran Sastre leading the way ahead of the grand final. Angus Goff and Gerard Bailo tied on 36 points apiece. Goff gets 3rd pick on the basis of his efforts in his final ride. Toby Hales, Michael Dijkstra and Frank Serra will all have to line up from the middle row. As our finalists assemble at the pits gate, let's take a look at the 12 riders who've made it through and a reminder of the order in which they will choose their starting positions for this grand final. 2 Brits and 2 Spaniards due to line up on the front row of the grid, Ferran Sastre and Gerard Bailo, who've been on the podium together on 3 occasions this season. Bailo yet to dip from the podium places. They are due to line up on the front row of the grid here. 3 different nationalities on the second row of the grid, with Frank Serra qualifying in 7th place and Leah Toklov doing a great job to complete the riders who should feature on the second row of the grid. But it's Gary Birtwistle who led the scoring by just a single point over Ferran Sastre, who beat Sastre back in heat number 2 as well. Sastre then subsequently undefeated, looking to make it 3 wins on the bounce to take the meeting victory here today. He slots in on the inside of Gary Birtwistle, who had chosen gate number 2. Angus Goff, with his best performance in the qualifying stages, lines up off gate number 3, and Gerard Bailo will hope to make the run around the outside line on the first 2 turns as he settles in off gate number 4. So Sastra, Birtwistle, Goff and Bilo on row 1. Next up to choose Toby Hales. He's gone for the inside of the middle row. Michael Dijkstra goes for gate 3. Frank Serra going for gate 4, so neither Dijkstra nor Serra wanted to be boxed in. Dijkstra, we know, favours the outside line, and they didn't want to get hemmed in around the inside. So Leah Toklov will complete the second row, but off gate number 2. So leaving an inside run open to Toklov if she can make a good start and try and capitalise on that. Row number 3, Rob Meir is first up to choose. And it looks as though he's going off gate number 2, slightly wider than Toby Hales off the inside. Sam Hurst goes for the outside of that back row, leaving Jordan Miller the inside and Joe Banks going off gate number 3. So here's the lineup in full then. Sastra, Birtwistle, Goff and Bilo off row 1. Hales, Toklov, Dijkstra and Serra row 2. Miller, Meir, Banks and Hurst completing your lineup. Round number 5, the grand final here in the Amman Valley. We missed out on seeing one of these 14-lap pelters here yesterday because of the rain. No such misfortune here today. Perfect conditions. Let's go racing. The top 3 in the championship lining up off the front row. They're under starters' orders. And we're away. Sastra's missed it. Sastra off the pole has missed the start, and it's Gary Birtwistle who's there first of the first turn. Sastra down to 3rd, hits a rut, and they're going either side of him. Bilo's emerged from the pack up in 3rd position. Hales squeezes out Sastra. Serra's gone with him, and now Michael Dijkstra streaming around the outside line as they head into the bottom bend for the first time. Dijkstra had nowhere to go. They were 3 abreast in front of him. Sastra then cutting back through. Hales alongside Goff, but gets out of shape. Goff holds on for 2nd place. It's Birtwistle from Goff. Gerard Bilo now past Toby Hales and through into 3rd position. Dijkstra cuts up the inside of Sastra coming through for P5. Side by side once again further up. Bilo manages to streak clear now of Toby Hales, and he's challenging on the inside line on Angus Goff as they head into turn 3 and 4. Goff has gone way too deep into 3. Bilo comes through. They're side by side. Dijkstra and Hales. Dijkstra moves Hales out of the way. Goff's in the wrong place at the wrong time and gets boxed in by the pair of them. Sastra comes past Hales and Goff then. Sastra now goes to the outside line though as Hales passes Goff. Hales will be off in swift pursuit. The number 1 has passed the 41. It's out of shape slightly and held back by Ferran Sastra. Goff not quite close enough to recover. Frantic early stages of this one. Dijkstra now setting up a move on Gerard Bilo. This will be for 2nd position. If the Dutchman can pull it off, that will be absolutely sensational. And in the context of the championship, Gerard Bilo is set to suffer at the hands of Gary Birtwistle, who leads the way. These would be 4 important points gained by Birtwistle, and it'd be a 2nd victory of the 2019 season. The number 11 is streaking clear, and it appears that Dijkstra is being held back at this stage of the race by Gerard Bilo. Bilo on the outside line. Dijkstra, who favoured that cushion earlier on in the meeting, has now switched his attack to the inside, slides across the front of Gerard Bilo. Bilo will have the inside and the cut back into turn number 3, but Dijkstra is a man on a mission here. Started from the middle row of the grid. He's now surging around the outside of our Spanish championship leader. Bilo boxes him out. Through up the inside line comes Ferran Sastra, recovering as this race goes on. We've got a fight on our hands for 2nd position. Hales is trying to go with them. Goff is slipping back. We've got a separate race further down the order. Dijkstra cuts back off the bottom bend. It's Sastra who holds the line. Bilo still holding position though, up in P2. Can this group work together to go after Gary Birtwistle? No such luck. They're swapping paint almost. They're side by side off the top bend. They're practically touching one another. Who's going to be bravest into the bottom turn? It's Dijkstra through up the inside line. 2 moves in 1 turn, and Bilo cuts back on the inside of Sastra. And all of that dicing between these 3 has enabled Toby Hales to get back on terms. Bilo going for a tear-off as they go into the top bend. Sastra on the outside line. Hales looking for a route through and back into this race. Sastra goes the long way round. Hales once again, they're practically all touching, coming off that top bend. Again, who's going to be bravest into the bottom turn? Bilo is there. Hales is sending his front wheel in. Sastra's going for the outside line. He'll have the momentum coming off turn number 4. He uses it to cut back to the inside line. Can he pass Toby Hales there? Not quite alongside. Hales defends the position. Sastra goes for the inside line, has to back out of it. Hales closed the door, and so Toby Hales starts to consolidate that position. It's Gary Birtwistle who leads. It's Michael Dijkstra still in 2nd place, hunting down Birtwistle now out in front. Bilo 3rd, Hales 4th, Sastra in 5th position, but challenging for P4 once again. Ever closing out in front is Michael Dijkstra. This race is not over just yet, even if the action further back is starting to settle down. The gap has gradually closed between Birtwistle, who's now looking over his shoulder, and the Dutchman Michael Dijkstra, yet to win a round with the DTRA. This could be his best opportunity yet. He cuts to the inside. Birtwistle's going to have to go the long way round, and just at the wrong moment, he loses control of the machine ever so slightly. He's got the cutback though. He's got the inside, but Dijkstra powers through. A brilliant ride from Michael Dijkstra to hit the front, and given the pace with which he's worked his way through the field, you'd suspect that from here, Dijkstra will be the favourite for victory. The top two have certainly emerged clear of the rest of the pack, still chasing that place on the podium. Third position is with Gerard Bijlo as things stand. It would do his rivals a massive favour in the championship if he could be knocked back off the podium for the first time in 2019. Toby Hales is closest to him, with Ferran Sastre still in the mix as well. And to be fair to Angus Goff, doing a great job from the start and indeed staying with this lead group. Hales now passes Bijlo. That's for third position. That could be really important in the context of the championship. We're watching the top two, Dijkstra and Birtwistle, pulling clear out in front. Can Toby Hales now mount an assault on Gary Birtwistle though? It's the pride of the Brits here in P2 and 3. Birtwistle holds second, Hales holds third, and if Hales gets it wrong whilst attempting to pass Birtwistle, Bijlo won't need a second invitation. At the moment, this would be the first time he's appeared outside of the podium positions this season. Hales with a drag race to the line, steals second place away from Gary Birtwistle. That move came from absolutely nowhere. Hales was certainly closing down Birtwistle, but I didn't see that closing speed coming off the final turn, and Toby Hales has nicked it away. But it's Michael Dijkstra who becomes the 8th different winner in the DTRA's history here at Amman Valley. Toby Hales, after a run of 4 consecutive wins, is denied, but it's a second place for Hales and another of his best results of this 2019 season. Back-to-back podiums for Hales, but the celebrations are for Michael Dijkstra, the Dutchman who missed the third round of the season, who came back with a 4th place here yesterday, and a first victory in the Pro Championship for Michael Dijkstra. 1.5 seconds his winning margin. There was no doubt about who had the pace in that one. Hales nicks it by 70 thousandths of a second in the run down to the line, ahead of Gary Birtwistle, who takes third, and Gerard Bijlo just a little bit off colour, but that's all it takes at this level to be off the podium. Bijlo and Sastre find that out to their cost. Angus Goff, with a career best result, takes a well-earned 6th position ahead of Frank Serra, who rounds out our lead group of 7 riders. Gary Birtwistle, third position in the grand final here today, but having finished top of the heat points, you were the favourite for victory. Do you feel like the win slipped away from you today?
A little bit. When Dijkstra came past, I knew he had the pace, so I was happy to let him go and not fight to the death. Didn't want to drop it trying to win that race, especially because Dijkstra is a little bit further afield in the championship, so that was all right. But second would have been nice, and a bit gutted that Toby picked me to the line. Yeah.
Toby Hales, your winning run in grand finals around this circuit comes to an end, but nonetheless, once again you've beaten the Spaniards, once again you've beaten Gary Birtwistle. It's a good result in the context of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. The way the heats are going, it didn't look too good, but luckily we had a final to make things happen, and especially beating the Spanish and Gary. It couldn't be better. Michael isn't too bad in the championship. He's not beating me, so it's the main thing.
Michael Dijkstra, you've been with us for a while now, and finally your first pro victory after your first pro podium around the same circuit last year, so you must be delighted.
Yeah, I still can't believe it. It was just a very high level in the pro class today. And this is just my kind of track, a half mile of cushion. That's just, it's still unbelievable.
You were very unlucky yesterday. You had a puncture when you were out in front and an opportunity to take a race victory. You picked up a race victory in the heats today, and then you backed it up, but you didn't do it the easy way. Talk us through that final, because you had to work your way through the field.
Yeah, I thought the last side, on the outside, on the start line was the best, because my line is outside. But after a couple of laps, I saw so many humps in the outside of the turns, so I was in second position after Gary. I thought I'd just take the inside, just let it roll to the middle of the turn and on the gas, and see what happens.
So Toby Hale's last-ditch overtake on Gary Birtwistle means that the number 11 trails by 11 points with 2 rounds remaining in 2019. But he does break 3 points clear of Ferran Sastre, who slips to third. Toby Hales and Michael Dijkstra closing on the lead trio. They will benefit in turn from the dropped round rule, and certainly the lead quintet breaking away from the rest of the field. 2 rounds still remaining. Our red car return we make next month, and don't forget September's season finale at the Greenfield Oval. Neither are to be missed.